Shut up and sit down.
I'm Alex Trades, and this is the pre-watch thoughts for Cold Mountain. Now, the three main actors of this movie, Jude Law, Renee Zellweger, and Nicole Kidman, have checkered careers. All three do great movies, and god-awful geez, what were they thinking movies. Jude Law has the amazing Gattaca, but also has the cringe-worthy Repo Men, and the throwaway blockbusters that are the Sherlock Holmes movies. Renee Zellweger has the very, very good Chicago, and a bunch of do-nothing movies that may be enjoyable, but lean towards the side of filmmaking, like Me, Myself, and Irene and The Bachelor. Nicole Kidman has the outrageously good The Hours and Eyes Wide Shut, but also has the unwatchable Australia and Bewitched. Even though I never miss a chance to watch The Stepford Wives because of its ironic take on many ideas about relationships, I'm not about to say that it is her best work, however. So the cast could either be dynamically amazing or horrible on levels of the ridiculous. The writer and director, Anthony Minghella, is known for the more dramatic or thrilling films, such as The Talented Mr. Ripley and The English Patient. He also wrote Nine, the one with Daniel Day-Lewis, not the animated one, which I couldn't even finish because I hate Daniel Day-Lewis, but that's probably more his fault than Minghella's. I'm not sure what to expect from this movie. I'm guessing the feels. We'll see though. Don't forget, I'm not impressed by movies that try too hard, and I get the feeling that this movie might be one of those, in that it will be overly dramatic or arty. I hope not. I get this impression from the subject matter, the American Civil War, which is filled with horrific acts on both sides to both civilians and soldiers. The poetry and short stories of the time are really hard to read, verging on torture porn, and Cold Mountain just seems bleak. It seems like it's going to focus on that stuff. Yay! This is the PostView review for Cold Mountain. So I seem to have developed a pattern. Attempted blockbuster, depressing Oscar grab. Attempted blockbuster, depressing Oscar grab. And so on, and so on. Which one do you think Cold Mountain is? Well, it sure as shit isn't an attempted blockbuster, so that just leaves the other. Depressing Oscar grab. Was Cold Mountain even nominated for an Oscar in any category? Well, let's take a gander, shall we? Before I do, let me just say it certainly does not deserve any notoriety at all. Okay, Renee Zellweger won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. That I can get behind. But it had 6 other nominations, including Best Actor for Jude Law. Ugh. Cold Mountain hires non-Americans for an American story, like so many other films. Let's cast Jennifer Aniston as Elizabeth I. I know you probably think I'm obsessed at this point, but most actors cannot pull off playing a different culture from their own if it calls for an accent. Most, not all. If I were to describe the main narrative of Cold Mountain in a single word, it would be boring. No, that's not right. It's cliche. You've seen this ending before. In fact, you could probably guess it. Think about it. It's a dramatic war movie focused on a romance. What do you think is going to happen by the end? Seriously, pause this video and write your guess with a spoiler warning in the comments below. I'll wait. Done? Okay, good. Moving on. It turned out that Renee Zellweger was the best actor in the movie. Actually, all the people who popped up then disappeared were better than the leads. Natalie Portman was perfect. Emily Deschanel actually stood out. Jenna Malone was impressive. Giovanni Ribisi was great. And Philip Seymour Hoffman was amazing, showing how horrible the Civil War was to all the people in the area from all walks of life on both sides of the war is great. It reminded me of the Civil War poetry and short stories I had to read in American Lit. The movie really does capture that sense of despair and depicts the inhumane acts that surround war in general. I believe that this movie has a lot missing narratively that's probably in the book, because while they point out that they barely know each other, Inman and Ada don't really seem to be in love. It feels more like infatuation that's romanticized by both of them because of the intense separation caused by the war. I couldn't really root for them getting together because they just didn't seem like they really loved each other. They didn't even know each other. Also, I feel like they both should have been younger in the story. Even though this came out more than a dozen years ago, Kidman and Waugh were both too old for the young Southern belle and man who goes off to war parts. I wouldn't be surprised if they were meant to be in their late teens or early 20s. Also, since neither of these actors were American and the Civil War is a super American story, I'm sick of foreigners playing Americans. If you can complain about Americans pretending to be English, etc., then the reverse is fair game. It was jarring to have these two in the movie, along with Irishman Brendan Gleeson and Cillian Murphy. The leads also seemed more focused on their accents than their acting. What's Jack White doing in this movie? And people can stop fucking hiring Charlie Hunnam. I would have been happier if Natalie Portman and anyone else had been the leads. The vignette stories that we have throughout the movie are the strongest parts of the movie, but also the least important to the plot. These make it obvious that the movie was adapted from a novel. Many of them could have been cut entirely. And then we're left with a half-baked love story. Now I'm going to talk spoilers, so skip ahead to get my rating. Movies have to be tight, and the only reason, besides the other actors' great work, that Cold Mountain isn't a complete disaster in my eyes is the fact that it has a major dramatic question. Will Inman get home to Ada? But the fake out at the end that maybe she shot him, which while cliche would have been a tragic and poetic end to the story, veers off to say no, she didn't shoot him, so they could have one night together. Of course, so he could die the next day tragically and she could be pregnant with his child, which is also cliche, but far, far worse of an ending. Why? Well, here's the thing. There is a common pronatalist theme in narratives that if a woman's male significant other dies, then she is lucky if she has had children with him or was at least left pregnant before he died. It's in so many movies. It's actually sickening. I've seen it in novels too. The idea is that, oh, you'll have a piece of him. First off, quit romanticizing the deaths of our men. It's not a consolation prize to be left with their child. If our spouses die, we want our fucking spouses, not their seed. Motherhood is not a replacement for the lifetime a woman wanted to spend with the man she loved. Secondly, a child is not a replacement for an adult person. Human beings are individuals and you can't swap them out like the rolls of toilet paper. A child is not necessarily a carbon copy of either of their parents and shouldn't be treated as an emotional balm for grief. They're human beings that deserve to be treated as such. Thirdly, grief is hard enough without pregnancy and child rearing in the midst. Convenient of narratives like Cold Mountain to skip over the months and years of depression on top of the hardships of carrying a child and taking care of an infant, especially in the case of Cold Mountain, seeing as the country was also war-torn. Do they know what that adjective means? It means little food, a harsh economy, and almost no one to turn to for help. We could say that the community she's built around herself could help, but if they also have a hard time getting food, I don't see how they could be as much help as they could have been in better times. I've heard of women in this situation finding motherhood very hard because seeing their deceased love in their child kept bringing the grief back. Finally, not all women and not all couples plan to have children, so seeing this theme reinforced over and over again is fucking annoying. While it is true that in all likelihood, Inman and Ada would have had kids had he lived given the time period, it's also true that this movie came out in 2003 to a 2003 audience. Cold Mountain, the movie, plays into this stereotype regardless of when it was meant to take place in a way that is old hat because fuck, we've seen this theme before for fucking decades. We don't need to see it again. Even if the man doesn't die, we still end up with a pregnant woman at the end of narratives as a symbol of life going on. It's fucking ridiculous. Stop using pregnancy as a sign. Women are not the incubators for hope. It's absolutely cliche at this point, and it doesn't need to be used ever again. Yes, I'm child-free. What of it? My point is still valid. My personal stance on having children doesn't change the fact that this is an overused method of a hopeful ending. Now, does it? I say pick up the book and don't press play on Cold Mountain. Even then, I'm not a fan of the narrative cliche that is the ending, so unless the novel is drastically different, I would say don't pick up the book either. The main actors don't do a good job, the narrative lacks focus and doesn't do the work to set up an actual couple in love, and the ending is stupid, if not insulting. Obviously, I didn't list a lot of positives, and I'm fighting my urge to dock points on personal grounds that the ending is offensive versus the honest critique that the ending is cliche and predictable. So when it comes down to it, I'm giving Cold Mountain a 4.5 out of 10. It's really not worth your time. If you're anything like me, you shouldn't watch it at all or face the consequence of being really fucking mad. Cold Mountain, why did you even bother? Fuck, why did I bother? This was PostView Review, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, click that bell, leave a comment below, visit my blog at empatheticwriter.wordpress.com, and follow me on Patreon for exclusive content and a shout out on a video. Merch, 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 merch. Yeah. Check out my new shop at cafepress.com/AlexofAllTrades for all kinds of products with my face on them.